really kind of full-on choreography and flying through the air and landing, and it becomes very technical about how to do it safely, you know. But also it requires that stamina.
Ever since the days of ancient Greece, dance has been divided into larger movements and more delicate gestures. Kai also works with small, intensely focused motions, using precise muscle and tension control to explore the interior, emotional aspect of a man's experience.
Sometimes by saying less, by using less stuff, you say much more rather than just moving and moving, moving. It's like condensed, but it says a hell of a lot more. You have to be internal in order to be able to kind of interpret what you're doing. Especially those quiet moments when it's just kind of, you know, the focus is really just on that small movement of a hand or whatever it is. It's just kind of, yeah, you are aware of that kind of tension or just quiet, that silence, you know?
There was a bit when the red light was shining on your chest and there was just silence in the room. It was truly phenomenal. What made you put that bit together?
That was really about those kind of, the last moments of someone's life, really. And that red thing was, you know, just basically a kind of echo of the heart and that kind of stuff. Sometimes you don't know exactly what you're saying until you start kind of delving into it, you know? But as an image, I just found it really powerful. I think there's so many things to explore. You know, with this kind of work, it's absolutely endless. And with the body as well, there's just, you never kind of get to the point where, there we are, I've learnt it, great, you know, and go home. It's kind of always exploring and always trying to find out more.
Kai teaches the rising generation of young male dancers at the Rubicon in Cardiff. These boys have got plenty of strength. Now they're learning the control they need to keep their movements in check. Kyle, you actually lift David. How difficult is that?
Yeah, he weighs a lot, doesn't he?
I weigh tens.
It's not that bad, really. Like, you learn to control your breathing as you're being lifted, and like David's quite good at that anyway, so when I do lift him, he lifts his own weight as he's going up, so it's more like the jump and catch than a lift, really.
It's hard work because it drains your energy a lot because you're dancing all day, 5 days a week, like normal school hours, but instead of writing and things, we just dance all day.
Go.
When I first started the course, doing things which I'd never done before, like contemporary and ballet, and I felt really uncomfortable. Coming from playing rugby and football, doing athletics, and only just doing breakdancing since I was really young, it was quite a shock to me. And when I come here, they said I had the wrong body shape. They stitched me up for everything. They stood me in front of the entire class and picked out what was right and wrong with me, and there wasn't much right at the time.
Breathing.
If Kai students work hard enough, they might get to tour the world as professional dancers. These days, there's a huge global audience for male dance. Well, since taking the world by storm with his Male Swan Lake, Matthew Bourne and his company have produced hit after hit, each time putting men centre stage. Matthew Bourne is one of the world's most successful choreographers. He shocked the dance world by casting men as swans in his version of the ballet classic Swan Lake.
I wanted to wipe away all the memories that people had of the original, which is a very sort of iconic image of a woman in a tutu and point shoes and feathers in her hair and everything. You know, it's sort of, even if people don't know ballet, they sort of know that image. So I thought by casting men as swans, that would really make people look at it in a different way. When I studied real swans, outside of the water, they're big and they're all turned in and ungainly and they flap around, you know, and they're not like they're represented in the ballet. And I sort of use both with the men. There is a graceful side to what they do, and they are beautiful at times, but I've also used that ungainly, slightly ugly side to what a swan moves like as well. For many years, dance, you know, favoured the woman, you know, in the leading roles, and the men were just sort of there to lift and pick up and, you know, do all the heavy work. And now it's not, you know, nowhere near the case.
But Matthew doesn't just give the male dancer a more prominent role. His choreography also gives them more earthy, realistic characters. His latest production is a steamy and erotic version of Bizet's Carmen. Here, he plays with the traditional macho stereotype of mechanics in a garage. What did you set out to achieve with the Carmen?
I wanted to do something where the men and the women were moving in a way that was just very earthy, very real. See how far we could take acting through dancing and to make it something that was very realistic, like movies you would go and see. I mean, Carmen's a very sexy show, very bloody show, very violent. It's almost sort of Quentin Tarantino-esque, you know, in some ways. And people think, oh, you shouldn't see this in the dance, you know, at the ballet or whatever. But it's there and it's great, you know, and it's you can cast people who look like real people in it as well, rather than that ethereal kind of look you get in some dancers.
The Carmen is a tremendous spectacle, and Matthew's casts men with varying physiques. You're all actually bigger than I thought you'd be. I thought you'd all be much lighter than you are.
You're smaller than I thought you'd be.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
See? There you go. Do you spend time working out in the gyms, or is it just the physical activity of the dance what keeps you strong?
Usually the show sort of keeps you trim and trained because they're so intense and full on that the last thing you want to do after you've done a show is go to the gym the next morning.
And you've got your top off the whole time, so you know you have to be sort of in some sort of good condition. You know, you can't have your love handles out. You know, sometimes you can get away with your love handles. Sometimes, you know, you just pull your jock up a little bit high or something.
I like everyone to look different. I want as big a range of people there as I can get. I like people who look like people you see on the street. I don't like them to look all like gods and goddesses from another world, you know. I love it. I love them to be people that you can identify with. Like Alan Vincent, actually, who's in the Carmen. He comes on stage, most people say, this guy doesn't look like a dancer. He looks like he's walked off the street. And then he starts to dance, he starts to move, and it's all the more exciting and all the more beautiful in a way to see a guy move that way. I love the audience's reactions to things like that.
This particular show is quite impacting. There's lots of sort of fighting towards the end of the shows and throwing and kicking and stage fighting, all that kind of stuff.
We have a lot of kind of big numbers where there's a lot of partnering and there's a lot of lifts that come with that.
I thought I'd push my body to the limit when I was on the track, but these guys are pretty tough. Okay, gentlemen, a simple question I've got to ask you. Who's softer, athletes or dancers?
For us dancers, I think show must go on and all.
You have to at least make it to half-time, the interval.
But I just think it's just a different thing. I think we are proper harder than you, though.
Throughout history, men have expressed aggressive, warlike impulses through dance and in martial arts, to ward off enemies and to demonstrate physical prowess. The haka of the Maori people is one of the most famous examples. This is the kind of raw energy and competitive aggression I remember feeling on the racetrack, adrenaline pumping and my muscles exploding into movement. You can find other dances that are bursting with this male energy. Capoeira has its roots in martial arts, It's a curious phenomenon which comes from Brazil. Few people in the UK had heard of it before the BBC beamed these pictures into our homes. These days, more and more men are taking part. But is it a dance, is it a sport, or is it a martial art? Claudio Campos came from Brazil to teach capoeira here in Wales, and I'm hoping he'll have the answer to some of my questions. Claudio, that looks fantastic. It looks really beautiful, but what is capoeira?
Capoeira is Afro-Brazilian martial art, and it combines fight, dance, music, and acrobatics. All stuffs together make capoeira so rich, you know.
Are the movements choreographed?
No, not at all. Capoeira works like a body dialogue, you know? And if I kick you, you have to escape. It's not choreographed at all. The way of capoeira is like kicking each other, but you learn it, you get able to escape from the kicks. We don't have like other martial arts when you block the kicks. We can block when the kick's really close to you, but normally we escape and make the game fluid. You know, that's the way of capoeira.
This flowing combat was developed by African men taken as slaves to Brazil. They weren't allowed to practice their traditional martial arts. So, to deceive their masters, they gathered in circles, played music, and disguised their movements as dance. Capoeira was born. Do you think you can teach me something?
Let's go for it.
Okay, what's the basics moves that we have to learn
We have
first of
like
all?
two basic moves, okay? The basic move of capoeira is called ginga. Can you repeat for me? Ginga.
Ginga.
Ginga is the way of movement your body, okay? Right. And let's get into the first now. If I kick you that direction, you have to escape. Escape.
There's nothing quite like the adrenaline rush you get from racing in competition. It's another form of physical combat. Out of all the dance forms I've seen, capoeira is the one that gets my heart racing again. Man, that's hard. When I started this journey into male dance, I had only ever done ballroom, but my eyes have been opened to the range of dance men excel in. Henri showed me just how closely dance and athletics are linked. I've learned that great dancers are like elite sportsmen, dedicated to performing extraordinary feats of strength and technique. For athletes, beautiful movement is a byproduct of their endeavour. I salute male dancers for making beauty their goal and for showing us how the brute strength of the male body can be transformed into the most captivating spectacle.
So nice, I gotta play twice.